This is interesting. So let's talk about Logic's 10th dimension animation. Basically, he's like in the car with four other guys, and they're doing something called hot boxing. Hot boxing is when you get into a car, you roll up all the windows, and people start smoking weed, marijuana, and like you can get a contact high from just like being in the car with the marijuana, or you can actually hit the blunt yourself and then get high that way. Now, this is not new news that like drugs are bad. Like drugs are not good for you. Drugs are not helpful for you. When you use drugs, um, your normal, how do you say it? Like your normal responses or whatever are off. And in this particular instance, Logic starts to feel intense paranoia being around other people high. I'm just going to explain something to. I'm just going to kind of give it to you straight. So, first of all, it is an awful idea for untherapied people to be using drugs because, like, you are just not in a state where you actually understand your emotions. Like life itself, just dealing with the normal things that happen in life, you are going to feel all of the feelings. So if you let yourself feel the feelings, they're coming, okay? You're going to have anger and sadness, strife and hardship. Like you don't need drugs to what is it, like diminish or rationalize some experience that you're really having. Stupid people use drugs because they don't have like words to express what they're feeling. They don't understand how to interpret art. They haven't gotten interest. They are not interested in cinema yet. Like just all the things, or like good food, friendships, meaningful conversations, online interactions, reading, thinking, all of these things that like normal progressive humans like me and you probably like are able to do, they aren't able to do them. So just like in the other video, you just have all these people like walking in circles using drugs. I'm going to use drugs today. I'm going to use drugs tomorrow. I'm going to use drugs the next day. Drugs, drugs, drugs. And then they always try to make it seem like all the drugs are the same. Like cocaine and alcohol and cigarettes probably are drugs that they don't have THC in it. And so THC is like a chemical that's in marijuana that it causes you to to come out of your mind, right? So this is like a lot of people who like to experiment with like mushrooms and like there's a lot of artists who've done, you know, experiments with those types of drugs. And um, I guess if you're like a stickler in the real world, then possibly having those types of drugs around would be more useful. But I also think like some shit is like honestly genetic because like if you come from like a family of musicians, and like a lot of musicians use a lot of drugs, and it changes your DNA a little bit, so your tolerance is a little bit higher than like other people's. That's why you guys can see me like downing like 4 bottles of champagne, and I'm just like fine, like it's all right. Like I don't know, like my grandma was like a real party animal. Like some shit's just in your blood. Anyway, um, where was I going with this? Um, yes. So I wanted to explain why this is a bad idea. So first of all, the guys are peer pressuring him to try some drug called like California rape. Which just imagine, why would you be using a fucking drug that's insinuating rape? Like men are awful. But then also, why are you hotboxing? Why are you using drugs with a bunch of dudes? Like men are traditionally emotionally unintelligent. They just are not that smart. I'm not trying to be joking here, but what logic is describing is another. It's like, first of all, you know how we're all having these conversations about incels, these dudes who don't have girlfriends, they can't get dates, like nothing. If they had girlfriends, wouldn't they just be spending the time with the girlfriends? Like, why would you literally choose to spend time with a dude when you could spend time with your girlfriend? That's gay shit. Like, I don't know. Unless your girlfriend's awful, like for some reason, like if she's just like boring, like her intellectually she's just not stimulating, or she's like ugly or fat or something, like. But if you actually have a partner that you like, which is like, and this is what I want to be serious about this, like, go get out of the city for a minute and you will straight up realize like most people have partners. I'm not saying like girlfriends or like situations, they have partners. They have people who they like, you they can actually talk to their girlfriends about stuff. They can like do use drugs with their significant other. Like all of the things that life has to offer, you can potentially do that with a significant other. But I feel like so many women, especially like so many women who were born in the city, have tried to run away from these men because they're so awful. They're so awful and they're so stupid. They're so poor. It's just all the things. Like, why would you want to be with them? You wouldn't. You wouldn't. Be serious. You wouldn't. They're awful. Um, and so what do they have left? They have video games, which are about shooting and killing. That's another thing I actually saw. Like, there's this guy that I follow, and he's using like VR to like fight zombies or something with guns, and I just feel like it's insane because like so many of these dudes are being brainwashed by Call of Duty and like all of these like really really violent games. So they're programming themselves to like live in a violent world. All I'm saying is like I don't want to live among them. Like I don't want to live in the same part of the world as them. Just let me know where they're at so I can leave. You know what I'm saying? Like this, there really is something to programming, which is why like I think it is really important to have just so many more instances of black girls doing shit. Like so many of the black YouTubers that I see, it's getting better. I saw one girl today who made a commentary video about what was happening with Ruby Rose and Halle Bailey, which I thought was really good. Like some black, I understand if you, whatever side you take, if you support her, if you don't support her, but you should have opinions about these things because like other black girls are in community with you. Like they have a shared lived experience. And I do understand how sometimes your lived experience can be really shameful. Like you're like, oh, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to share this because I feel bad if I know that like this happened. At the same time, like it is really important to just show up as yourself. And especially when we have fucking no representation, like we can't just have one example of a black person who's like notoriously like stupid or just ugly or like whatever. Like we need a broad array of representation. So that's a thing. Anyway, um, I was definitely going somewhere else with this. What was I gonna say? Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't really know. I don't have much more I guess to say. That's all I've got, but I mean that's a lot. And that's enough. Like that's a lot. Really? Like that's a lot. I feel like I don't know. I feel bad. Like we need. I feel like so many of those black boys need to be following like Phil Kofer, who seems to have found his own way. Right? He's like an individual, Every people, you got to realize you can't go the way that everyone else goes. You can't do what everyone else is doing. Um, I mean, some things will be like shared experiences amongst like community members, but it's not everything, and it's not like most things. It's gonna be some things. It's gonna be some things.